Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary Orchard and I have some alternatives to Apple Arcade to show you. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by Raycon. Go to buyraycon.com/iOS today to unlock exclusive deals up to 20% off your Raycon order. But hurry, this offer is available for a limited time only, and you don't want to miss it. And by Wealthfront. To start building your wealth and get your first $5,000 managed for free for life, go to wealthfront.com/iOS today. And this podcast is supported by AT&T Active Armor. You've spent the day staring at your phone, waiting for that one call from the job, the hospital, or the family, and it finally rings. But guess who it is? A robot. Don't let fraud calls disappoint you. AT&T makes your security a top priority, helping block fraud calls with AT&T Active Armor. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor. 24/7 proactive network security, fraud call blocking, and spam notifications to help stop threats at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/activearmor for details. Whoa, ha, he, hey, hello, and welcome to iOS Today, the show where we talk all things iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, HomePodOS, tvOS. It's all the OSs that Apple has on offer, and we love to talk about them here on iOS to show you how to make the most out of your devices. I am one of your hosts, Mikah Sargent.
And I'm Rosemary Orchard.
Hello, Rosemary. How are you today?
Oh, I'm excited. I got to play games as my homework this week, Mikah. It's not often that you get to play games as part of your homework. But this week we agreed that both of us got to play games, which is always good fun.
Yes. In fact, we can thank Netflix, of all places, for this, because Netflix just recently launched its Netflix Games situation is what I'm going to call it, because we're going to get to that in a second. But Netflix Games is a way to use your Netflix subscription to play different games on both Android and iOS. It came to Android first, and then it seemed like it was going to be a minute before it rolled out to iOS. And then shortly after, it was like, hey, we're available on iOS as well. But here's where things get interesting. So with the rollout on iOS, because of Apple's rules surrounding game streaming versus sort of having a game library, Netflix had to do something a little different. It always had planned on starting out, it seems, these games as independent games. It wasn't the idea that you would be streaming these games. A lot of these are little kind of, small, low pixel quality games that you don't really need to stream them in order to play them. They don't take a lot of performance to be able to play them. But where something like Apple Arcade that has this kind of library of games, actually, that's more what this is like. It's as if you have one subscription through Netflix, and then you can use that subscription to play these games independently. And I have to be honest with you, when I was first reading about this and hearing about this, the way that I thought it worked was you launched the Netflix app, you found one of the games that you wanted to play, you tapped a play icon, and then within the Netflix app, you would start playing that game. But instead, Netflix has essentially provided links to apps that exist in the App Store independently of the Netflix app that you can play. You just use your Netflix subscription to play those games. And as far as it worked for me, I didn't have to log in with my Netflix account or anything, because it seems to have used my Netflix account, knew that I was already logged in on my Netflix account. And it even went as far as to show me the little icons for each of the different user accounts. I've got one for myself, one for my partner, and then one called Guest. So I'm going to show you, I went ahead and downloaded all of the games that were in the App Store from Netflix, you will note the tiny little N in the top left corner. That corresponds to the games. And Netflix launched with 6 games. But I'm first going to launch the Netflix app here and show you. Yes, I am Dolly Parton. And if we scroll down, you can see N games here. No ads, extra fees, or in-app purchases. Unlimited access to exclusive games included with your membership. And then all of these games are here. If I was to tap on one of these, it would kick me over to the App Store where I could download it. But I've downloaded all of them. So we're just going to start from the top with a game called Bowling Ballers. And this appears to be a portrait-style game. So I'm going to detach my iPad from its case and start with a tutorial here. So we tap start, and it looks like it might be, kind of an infinite runner style game. I'm using my finger to move the bowling ball, and the goal is to hit 3 pins as I am moving along here. I've got 1 pin left right down the middle. Boom. Got that, and now we're beginning. It seems like the goal here is to collect some coins. Okay, so we've got pins and coins. And as I collect coins, then I get higher into the score. And then we come to the end of the stage. Boom, reached a checkpoint. I've still got 3 hearts left. There's not been any kind of obstacle yet to cause me an issue. But it looks like if I wouldn't have hit that ramp there, I would have hit those macarons and been in a bit of a situation where it probably would have taken away one of my hearts. So this is, as you can see, a very simplistic game. This almost feels like one of those games that if you buy a book to learn how to code in Swift, this would just about be a game that you would make in the app. So no slight to the developers of the game at all. It's a simple game, but like there's something to the fact that it's a simple game. It's easy to understand, easy to pick up on, and easy to play. And then I imagine that the stages keep getting harder as you go along. I just completed the tutorial with 3 medals, and it looks like as I collect medals, I'll get more points that I can use to unlock further stages that give me more rewards. So all of it is built-in mechanisms to play the game. There's no in-app purchases or buy these 4 strawberry coins to move on to the next level. Otherwise, wait 3 hours to start to play. Let's go to the next one here called Card Blast, which is a game of cards, as you might imagine. But I think it said in the sort of subtitle, fast-paced card games. So let's try this out. Welcome to Card Blast. Make poker hands to score points. I'm not good at poker at all. So I made a pair, and now I can tap that pair to claim some points. You just played your first hand a pair of 2s, and for some reason they put an apostrophe next to the 2, which is inaccurate, so I'm annoyed by that. But we'll move on. There are some 7s. Now make A2 pairs. Okay, Netflix, we've got a problem. This game was not checked for errors. We'll do a 3 and a 3 and a 6 and a 6, and now we've got 2 pairs there. Make a 3 of a kind using queen cards. Well, I've got 3 queens, and boom, objectives complete. I imagine I'll get some jewels and some coins for that, and we get to move on. It showed me some of the little scores I got from doing that. Yeah, and then as you might imagine, it starts to move on through this sort of map as you go through and play the game. I have to say that game lacks some polish in terms of the copy in the game, and it also had a whole lot of splash screens at the front, which I didn't recognize so much with the other game. So it's clear that this was kind of a Netflix branding play, it seems, where Netflix was like, hey, we need a card game. Can y'all make one for us? I'm going to go to Stranger Things in a moment, but I want to get these other 2 out of the way. There's Teeter, which is a sort of balance game here made by Frosty Pop. And we'll tap play to begin the game. It says tap and hold either side of the screen to raise the bar. And of course, as you're raising the bar, you want to get, oh no, the little yellow circle up. Oh dear, I am not very good at this. I need to be more careful. So you're tapping on either side, should just raise it directly up, although that doesn't seem to be happening. It says after 5 attempts, you'll have the option to skip the level. I'm not sure why it's not raising it in an equal way on either side, but there we go. The whole point is to get the bar up to the hole in the stage and then use that to get the ball into the hole. And I see now, it doesn't let you do 2 sides at once, so you do have to move them independently. And then, we got it in. All right, that's Frosty Pop. As you can see, it's going to continue to play like this. They'll get a little harder as time goes on. I imagine there'll be some obstacles in the way and some things that might be able to knock the ball off of the bar. After that is Shooting Hoops. Shooting Hoops is also by Frosty Pop, and I have a feeling this is going to be some b-ball style. There's blast mode and target mode. Rosemary, which mode do you think I should choose?
Blast mode. Most definitely blast mode. Come on.
Blast mode it is. All right, so it says tap to shoot. The ball will fly in the opposite direction of where you tap. Okay, I see. Get the ball into the basket. So you're basically tapping underneath. Oh God, I don't really understand the mechanics here. There we go. There. Oh, that didn't count, really? So when you tap, it appears that it shoots out from the weapon a pill. And so the goal is to, there we go. Now I'm understanding it. You want to shoot it whenever the weapon is faced the right way so that you can get the ball into the basket. But this is just the tutorial, and I'm not getting it very well. So I think this game is not for me.
Yes, sometimes these things are they're more about the timing of tapping the screen than actually successfully tapping the screen in the right location or something. And especially when you're trying to present this, I can imagine that being very hard to do. That said, unfortunately, I did tell this to download earlier. It looks like I tapped on the icon on my phone and it paused, so I'm still downloading the app.
So close.
No, so close. If you go in from the bottom, does it count? No, apparently not.
That's a good question.
You just did it and it didn't count. So.
Yeah. So anyway,
difficult. So difficult.
That is a game I'm going to have to come back to because I'm frustrated that I was not able to get it. And then here are some games that are going to be more familiar to you in terms of the branding. There's Stranger Things 1983, I think is the first one, and then Stranger Things 3. Don't get those two confused. So we'll start by launching Stranger Things 1983, and I can put my iPad back on it's back in its case. Oh, 1984, sorry. And then Stranger Things 3. You tap start. You can choose normal or classic mode. It's like 1984 hard if you choose classic. I'm just going to choose normal just to show. And this is an RPG. It's a little pixel RPG. So I go and I answer the phone, and Hopper says, "It's late. This better be good." And Flo says, "Emergency, Chief. 4 children have gone missing. It's that Byers boy and his friends." "Okay, Flo, I'll look into it." And then you start to move around the space and walk outside. Oh, there's somebody you know, Powell. We got a tip that some kid was spotted poking around that lab on Randolph. That's it. I could get in the car, I imagine, and drive away. If I was really playing this RPG, I would have looked around Chief's place to try to see if there were some supplies I could have gotten. I'll talk once more to Powell. Take this key card. You'll need it to get inside. And then grab that key card. Now I've got it in my inventory. You can see some inventory stuff here. Tools, upgrades, quest items, heart pieces, gnomes, and collections. See, I probably could have found some gnomes in that area. I don't know why it's not showing my key card, but that's okay. And then the map shows me where I am. Of course, there are settings. I've got 5 hearts right now. The key card's up in the top left, I see. And then we will go inside. It feels very Pokemon in style. And we'll just look around. Oh, there's a book there. Just some old magazines. Whoa! Hopper punches the trash can, and there is a chest, because everybody keeps chests inside of their homes and inside of these facilities. And who you're going to call? We'll also check those books out. Books on human psychology and neurobiology, as well as a book on theoretical physics. We'll check this book up here. Old magazines. Check this map. Can't seem to find Hawkins on the map. Ooh, yeah, punch that wall. These buddy cop shows are so inaccurate. That's kind of funny. Oh, I got an extra heart, but I can't use it because I'm already full. Are these bad guys? Yeah, they are. And you can tap them to make them go away and collect some coins and hearts. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like I can grab the caution sign, which is just a disappointment because I'd like to use that to beat up some baddies. And then I imagine, yeah. Okay, you got to admit, it's pretty cool that he punches the the thing to make it move forward. So there's for folks who are listening, there's a handle, and I tapped on the handle to pull it down. And instead of pulling it down, the chief just punched it. And so then we'll move into this next area. Oh my goodness, there are lasers. It's locked. I need a key card to open it. Well, what about the key card I have? Is that one not going to work for this? Warning, laser security grid. So I come back to the main space. I'll go over here, and I'm just about done, folks. If you're going, why is he still playing this? I'll punch another handle, and look at all these coins I can get. Now, do you think Chief can fit into that pipe? No way I'm fitting in there. Okay, Chief, I'm sorry for asking. You're right. And then we'll come back to this main space. And then anytime you can choose quit game, and it says, maybe, your progress will be saved. So you will be able to move back to that. And you can see in the bottom left corner, I've made a mistake. I'm actually currently playing as my partner. I would need to switch to my character. And let's just give this a test. I'll choose me, and I'll tap play, and we'll see if it finishes, if it reloads back where I started on my iPhone. No, it doesn't appear that it did. Now, it could be because I never moved from inside of this room. And if I were to keep playing and actually move to a new place, then it would save at that point. But I'd like to think that this lets me jump between different systems so that I could play them on different things. And then last but not least is Stranger Things 3. And it's loading. We'll choose new game. Start with 2 characters in the default mode. Unlock new characters as you progress through the story. We'll do standard. There are 3 modes: difficult, or master, story, and I think normal or classic. And then it starts with a cutscene where they are apparently launching what looks like a large Hadron Collider that just killed some people, unfortunately. And this appears to be Soviet Russia. I'm going to go ahead and skip the cutscene for the sake of showing play. You'll notice that it's a little bit higher quality graphics, but still old school, and that's because it's supposed to be. And the idea here is that it's as if you were to go to an arcade during this time and play this game. Lucas says, "You're late again. Let me guess. You were busy making out with 11, weren't you?" And then you have some choices here. Mike can say real mature, or he could say you're just jealous. I think he's going to say real mature. Anyway, let's get going. We don't want to miss the opening. And then you can start to move through. This has the same ability, the same kind of game mechanics where you tap to move along. It also appears that you can tap your finger onto the screen and then move your finger along to move to different places. So you have multiple options here. And this has that isometric look as opposed to the last one. I've got 2 characters. Apparently I can play either character, which is kind of cool. I've got Medipacks, some Coca-Cola. I've got no energy right now. Lucas is able to put up a shield, and then you can tell your characters to stay or follow along with you. And you have the health options, or the health views for each of those characters. So this one looks a little bit more involved. I'm going to go ahead and quit this and choose to leave it. And again, make sure you're paying attention to which person you're playing as. You can switch between all of the different profiles on your Netflix account. But yes, the important thing, folks, to note is that this is Netflix has given you kind of a subscription to these games to play them based on your Netflix subscription. So if you have a Netflix subscription, you can download these games independently, and then you log in with your Netflix account, or if you've got your Netflix account on your iOS device, iPadOS device, it seems to be that it automatically authenticates, and then you're able to play the games. They're done up in these styles that work kind of for that era. And I think it's a really cool thing. We've got lots more to talk about. When we come back, we're going to talk to Rose about a game subscription service that she came across. But I do want to take a quick break to tell you about Raycon, who are bringing you this episode of iOS Today. You might remember Raycon. They've been on the network before. It's never too early, folks, to start gift shopping for the holidays. In fact, I just checked the calendar and I really need to hop on it, especially because today you out there can save big on a gift they'll use every single day. It's Raycon wireless earbuds. I think Raycon, like one of the things I love about these earbuds is they come in this tiny little case that you can carry around with you. You plug it in to charge. You can get them in a bunch of different colors. But then on top of that, not only do they come in a tiny little case, they themselves are very small. So they are very like, it's just a svelte kind of nice look where they just pop right into your ears and then they kind of disappear. I like that I can walk around with them in and it doesn't feel like I'm, I don't know, wearing big old headphones or even ones that have the stems sticking out. They just slide into my ear and feel comfortable, sit in there, very nice. And then also Raycon goes ahead and sends you a bunch of different silicone tips that you can use for the Raycons to make sure that you get the right fit for you. I think that is super important when it comes to audio quality, whether you are spending a bunch of money on audio or a small amount of money on audio. The important thing is that the audio sounds good, and a good fit is very important to good audio. With seamless Bluetooth pairing and a comfortable noise isolating fit, you can start listening right away and keep listening for hours. The audio quality is fantastic. It's comparable to what you get from other premium brands, except Raycon starts at half the price. The new everyday earbuds come with 3 new sound profiles to make sure everything you're listening to sounds its best with just the right amount of bass. So if you'd heard about these and you were wondering about, okay, but are they going to sound overly bassy? Are they going to sound overly... Don't worry. With the new everyday earbuds, you get 3 different modes. There's pure mode, which is for podcast listening, blues, instrumental, etc. There's balanced mode, which is also for podcast listening, for rock, for heavy rock and metal. And then bass mode, which is great for hip hop, EDM, reggae, etc. Raycon offers 8 hours of playtime, and with that case, you get 32 hours of battery life. And there's also a built-in microphone, so you can take calls on your earbuds at the press of a button. So this holiday season, get them something they can use for calls or music, for work or play, at home or on the go, or hey, pick up a pair for yourself. You're going to use them every day. Go to buyraycon.com/iOS at this moment to unlock exclusive deals up to 20% off your Raycon order. But hurry, because this offer is available for a limited time only and you don't want to miss it. That's buyraycon.com/iOS to unlock up to 20% off your Raycons. buyraycon.com/iOS. And thanks so much to Raycon for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. All right, Rosemary Orchard, tell us about GameClub.io.
Yeah, so I was digging around because you suggested, of course, doing this excellent episode on Apple Arcade alternatives. And I was wondering, what is there now? Because there used to be a service called Payload, which was for indie devs. It's kind of an alternative to Apple Arcade where they could do stuff, but that's disappeared. It's just gone. The app is not on the App Store, etc. And I was looking and trying to figure out, what other options are there? And I came across GameClub. And the thing that caught my eye is GameClub has games I've played before. Games I've played before that have disappeared from the App Store in all other form, but they still have them on GameClub. And so GameClub itself is a service. It's a free service, but you pay $4.99 a month. So it's the same price as Apple Arcade. And it's not built into any other subscription plans that you might have, which is for better or for worse, what it is. And I just need to try and disable my local network blocking, because apparently the update that I installed earlier is now blocking the app, or something's a little bit funny because the iOS app itself doesn't feel super great. It's kind of sitting there stuck on fetching games right now. But this app is essentially a library where you can then go ahead and find all of the other apps that you might want to play. So I'm going to go ahead and look for two of them that I downloaded earlier. One of them is Arcade Ball. And with every game, you get a 10-minute trial without the subscription, which is a nice way to see whether or not you're going to actually enjoy any of these games. So I've already done the tutorial here for Arcade Ball. And as you can guess, you get balls and you have to throw them in the holes. And you get points for doing that. And that's how Arcade Ball works. So if I just throw that, then, woo, I got 40 points. I was aiming for 50. But let's see if I can manage it this time. And no, I got, 10 points? Not doing so great here, but I'm having some fun. And lots of these games are super simple. They do have quite a few other options though, but the one that caught my eye that I've been after for ages is Strata. And Strata is something Sarah Lane featured back on iPad Today, when the show had a very different name and it was all about iPad. We didn't talk about HomePod and everything else then. And Strata is essentially a game where you weave ribbons together. And this game I always really loved. I found it incredibly calming and soothing. And you just have to fill the entire grid and you have to match the colors to the tiles underneath. So at the moment, it's incredibly easy, right? Because I have two colors. I have one color and I have, 4 ribbons that I need to put over. But as you increase things, it gets a little more complicated, where the square on top has to match the ribbon has to match the square. So, it's simple enough. It's easy to play. I've always enjoyed this game myself. But there's multiple different ways to solve each level. But what I like about GameClub is, of course, you've got lots of these options in there. I'm just going to try again, apparently, to access it. In the meantime, it might be better to pop open the website because they have a whole range of games. And the interesting thing about GameClub is, of course, that these games are iOS as well as Android compatible. Now, not everything is on both platforms, but a lot of the games are available on multiple platforms. And there's just a huge range of games. So there's strategy games, there's story-based games, there's all sorts of things. And you can try them all out. I quite like the idea of this. I do have to say, I'm not sure that downloading an app library on your phone to then download individual apps is necessarily the most fun way of experiencing all of this, because I kind of envisioned it as you download one app and it contains all of the apps. But that is not the case. You download one app and you can use it to get to the other apps, or you can just not. Because if I were to go into the App Store for GameClub, then I should be able to see all of the other apps that they have. Of course, my iPhone is apparently playing up a little bit right now, so I might have to reboot it before we get to the next part of the show. But let's see if I can just find this and pop that open for everyone. Because it basically, if you're looking at the app in the App Store, then it's a small app, you download it and that's it. But then when you go down to More by GameClub, this is where you start to see all of the different apps that there are. So you can also just have a browse through here and see, which ones you might like. Because $5 a month is the same price as Apple Arcade. So if you've already got an Apple Arcade subscription, then maybe this isn't for you. But equally, there are games here that I've tried to find elsewhere, specifically Strata, and I've just not found it, and I've missed that game. I don't think I'm going to be paying $5 a month for this forever, but I do think that I might pay $5 for a month or so to play it, cancel my subscription, and then come back to it later. Which, of course, is always an option with these things. You don't necessarily have to have a Netflix annual subscription. You can just start with, a month and, play some games and watch some shows for a month and see whether or not you like it, and then continue from there. But I have to say, I was pleased to find the games, and more importantly, the massive range of games, because they are adding new titles all the time. I went back and checked their news to make sure that they're not just saying that, and they do seem to be adding lots of new things regularly, which is really cool. And of course, once you paid, it's all you can play. So it's an option. And I would love to hear from any listeners who've been using this or who've tried it before, what they liked and didn't like about it. Because they do seem to have a good range of games. I'm much more of a puzzle gamer than anything else. I do play some story-based games, Divinity, which Mike has featured on the show before, and Civilization are two of my favorites. I love those, but they're not part of any packages where you can get them with anything else. That said, if you're looking for some bang for your buck, both of those games are absolutely fabulous, and I can highly recommend them.
Nice. When we brought up, it was last week, talking about doing alternatives to the App Store, to Apple Arcade for the show, a certain somebody who is the technical director for the show.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Anthony. Hello. Anthony,
funny seeing you here.
Yeah.
Said that he could talk about his experience using Xbox Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate to do some of the this is the kind of troublesome thing. It's been called a trillion different things: xCloud Gaming, Xbox Cloud Gaming, Xbox Game Pass with all of this stuff. But Anthony, do you want to tell us kind of what Xbox Cloud Gaming is, and then tell us about your experience?
Yeah, so let's start with, Xbox Cloud Gaming is kind of game streaming in the vein of something like Stadia, Luna, or the NVIDIA GeForce Stream now, I think it's called. So it basically gives you access to, it's not, okay, then I'll also have to explain Game Pass. Game Pass is a service where Microsoft has 100 plus games that are available to you for a monthly fee so all of the first party Microsoft games and, over 100 other very popular games for $10 a month or $15 if you're on Xbox, because you'll also want the Xbox Ultimate where it comes with Xbox Live. It's all very confusing, but
it is very.
Yes. I've looked at this because I was really intrigued by this, because I thought that I would be able to play these games without actually owning an Xbox. And I think it depends on some of the games.
You can if you pay for Game Pass Unlimited or Ultimate, sorry.
Right.
So like you get access to the game library on their beta. Let's let me kind of reset.
We'll get a little off topic if we get too far into it. The point is, with a subscription, you can use, because there are kind of two different ways of doing it. There's one where you are playing some games that they sort of trickle out, and then there's the one where you are streaming across different platforms. So this one is for folks who are. I guess, Anthony, are you doing the one where you have to have an Xbox to be able to use it, or is yours the other kind?
I'm doing the cloud or the game streaming, which it's not tied to an Xbox. So this is kind of like Stadia, where I'm playing off some server somewhere.
Got it.
So. Oh, okay. And also I'm jumping ahead too because I wanted to load into game because I wanted to show you how instead of just mapping the regular, controller buttons, they do on their touch available games, they do kind of like remap everything to something that makes more sense. So you can see this is okay. This is also Sea of Thieves. This is a open world, pirate game where you get to pillage and loot and have fun with friends. But you can see the emote thing, there's a dedicated emote button, and it's a little bit more touch friendly than just remapping a standard controller on the display. So there's a gun icon, so you know that this will bring out your gun and stuff like that. But let's quit this game and go back to the menu. What was that game called? I'm sorry.
Can you connect an Xbox controller to these games to play it with the same controls that you would use?
I would also suggest doing that. The reason why I just wanted to show you the touch controllers because one, I think that's kind of a differentiator, and also to use my controller, I brought with me the Backbone.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. It's very reminiscent of a Switch controller. So the joysticks aren't that big, but So it's not great for first-person shooters, but it's
and it's also not great for certain iPhones. The newest iPhone, in fact, you can order from them, which mine still hasn't shipped yet, a part that makes it fit a little bit better. I'm still waiting for mine to come. The alternative is to get it printed, but I don't know anyone with a 3D printer who's close. I guess I could ask Rosemary to print it for me. And
I could print it and ship it, but it might take us the same amount of time by the time it gets to you, unfortunately, Micah.
Exactly.
That's
I've looked
the problem
into
with international shipping. Darn.
Yeah, and I've looked into using, because I think it's UPS that also has a 3D printing option where you can just sort of do a one-off, but that ends up being super expensive too, versus the free one that they're supposed to send to me in a trillion years from now. But anyway, I think that that's kind of one of the beauties of this. And then Backbone just recently released the ability to, especially if you have, well, actually it is for this, not especially. If you have an iPad, now you can plug in a Lightning to the controller and then USB-C into the iPad and use it as an independent controller for that. There are several different modes, including one for PC, one for iPad, and then one, I can't remember what the other ones are, but there are a few ones. And anybody who was a purchaser of Backbone up to, I think, maybe a month ago, gets this new feature for free. People after that they can be part of a subscription service that has this and a bunch of other stuff. Backbone just recently launched a subscription service that has a lot of cool features, but one of those is with this. So yeah.
Yeah, I have the Razer Kishi, which is a similar kind of device that you can wrap around your iPhone. Unfortunately, I don't have it handy. I didn't think to grab it for today. And I have to say, for some games on my iPhone, that is really nice. And I'm probably more likely to take the Kishi with me with my iPhone than I am to take my Nintendo Switch on the off chance that I want to play some games. Yeah, I've not tried it with the Xbox cloud streaming yet. I'm going to have to give that a go at some point, because I was at one point considering buying an Xbox, and then I found out about this service, but I didn't have anybody I could pepper with questions. So unfortunately, Anthony, you've opened the door there. You may get peppered with a bunch of questions about this. Sure. But equally, I love the fact that we get to have these games on multiple platforms, because this is the problem with so many of these services, right? That the game is then locked to that platform. If you want to play Mario Kart, you need a Nintendo Switch, or there is, an iPhone version of the game, but you can't play with your friends who are playing on the Nintendo Switch, at least that I'm aware of. And the same with the Xbox games. If you want to play Halo or something, then you needed an Xbox, but maybe that's part of this as well. Yeah, it's good to see, and very handy that you happen to have this service. Yeah. You could talk about it for us.
Also, a bonus tip. So this is, cloud gaming, but if you have an Xbox or a PlayStation, you could also just directly stream to that device without, this service. So if I launch into a different app, the Xbox app, you can connect directly to your console at home, and not, if you don't need this service to necessarily game stream.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
In that vein, the other one I wanted to mention, excuse me. In that vein, the other one I wanted to mention is Amazon Luna, because it is a way to stream games online as well. Amazon Luna is, as you might imagine, Amazon's game streaming service. And there are different games that you can play just for being part of Amazon Luna. There are some games where you need a Ubisoft subscription in order to play it. But it will let you use a controller that you have with the iPad, or you can get what I recommend, which is the Amazon Luna controller, which works with Amazon's own Cloud Direct service. Cloud Direct is... this is such a clever idea. Essentially what happens is, instead of you being directly Bluetooth connected or USB connected to the console, the controller connects independently to the network over Wi-Fi, And then as the game is streaming to you over Wi-Fi, it is taking in the controls that you do over the network. And so it actually reduces latency because it will take those controls that it's getting, the feedback that it's getting, and then intelligently delay or speed up kind of in the background. It's not anything that you see yourself, that you realize, the streaming to you, so that everything feels very low latency. It's a brilliant way of doing it to where you don't have that latency issue with Bluetooth, and you don't have the latency issue of doing these kind of more difficult means of connecting with these games. So let me switch back here to the iPad. I'll turn on the Amazon Luna controller, and this just takes two AA batteries. It also has a USB-C port on the front so that you can plug it in, as I said, to do direct play. And then it connects, again, over Wi-Fi to the network, and then it just kind of looks for what device you might have. And you can see now this popped up to say the Luna controller is now connected over Cloud Direct. And then now I'm using the joystick on the controller to select a game as I want to. I'm going to choose Infinite Mini Golf because the other ones are... what's the word I'm looking for? The first two are Ubisoft games, and they work much better whenever you are actually wired via Ethernet, and I'm not currently because my iPad is plugged in to show you. So I'll choose Infinite Mini Golf and choose Play Now, and you can see kind of how this works. It will start streaming. It shows you open Luna controls in the game. This is how you do it. I just felt a little rumble in the controller, which is nice. And then it launches the game. And this is currently being played on my iPad Pro. You could play it on an iPhone. In fact, Amazon sells a little clip that you can put over the Luna controller that will hold your iPhone above it very easily. It says press any key to continue. So I will press the A button to continue. It loads my profile. And then I can choose play solo. And we'll just do quick play here. And I mean, it's zooming along. It might be more difficult to see if you're watching the latency. I'm not getting any stutter or anything like that on my screen as we move in to play this game. Now it says I can move the ball around, and if I tap X, I can kind of see what this full stage looks like. I'll tap B to go back, and then once I'm happy with where I've got the ball, I will tap A to select it. And then the next goal is to move the arrow. There we go. Moving it to the left. Moving it to the left or the right will move kind of how the ball is positioned, or I'm positioned around the ball. And then I will pull back with the right joystick to choose a speed or a sort of hardness and let go. And boom, it moves along to the next spot. And then we can try to get some of these rocket power-ups here. Nice, right down the center. So, oh no, I didn't see that was a... I didn't see that we had an incline there. I'll tap A just to see. I don't know what this rocket actually is, but what I'm going to do is really whack this to try to get it across the this incline here. And let's see what happens. So if you tap A while the ball is in motion, then it goes ahead and lets you kind of boost the ball a little bit. So I could have used that whenever I suddenly noticed there was an incline. And I might miss this. Let's see. Nice. I got a birdie on that one, which I'm surprised. I thought I did much poorer than I actually did. And I get 8,220 points and get to move on. It calls me Amazon player, so it doesn't have my name or anything like that. And then I can choose exit game. By the way, you can see here it says start Luna couch session. It also shows me my controller with the current battery level. And what's super cool is that the Luna controller, here, let me make myself big. The Luna controller has a headphone jack, so you don't have to disturb anybody. You can plug in some headphones and be able to listen to the game and play the game there. And then if you have a headset mic, that will work as well with the controller. Luna Couch Session is a way to invite your friends to play. So if you had more than one Luna controller, then I could play with somebody locally, or actually you can invite people from all over. So I will exit the game and go back to the main screen. I use Luna to... Most of what I use this for is for playing, and I haven't in quite a while, so I do need to think about getting rid of my Ubisoft subscription, maybe. But at the same time, it's like sunk value because I've spent a lot of time in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and so I think that I got to keep playing it. But Ubisoft Plus is rather expensive. What does that say? $17.95 a month?
Is that on top of the Luna?
On top of.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. So it's $6 a month for Luna, which is not bad because there are lots of games that are built in. But then if you want to play Ubisoft, it's $17.95 a month. But here's the thing. With that Ubisoft Plus subscription, you get the top tier of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and all of the other games too. Far Cry, like it's not just the basic Far Cry. By being part of the subscription, you get the best version of Far Cry with all of the expansion packs. You get the best version of Assassin's Creed with all of the expansion packs. If I go back and play older versions of Assassin's Creed, it also has all of those expansion packs included. So if you are playing regularly, it's absolutely worth it. If you're not playing regularly, then it does start to get expensive. But yeah, this is why I need to go back and start playing again or get rid of my subscription because it does get pricey. But I have been very impressed not having a console, how easy it's been to use this. And especially because Ubisoft Plus is not a subscription on the consoles right now. So if you wanted to play the games, you have to buy them or find some other way versus being able to use that subscription service. Yeah, so that, folks, brings us to the end of this segment for iOS Today. We wanted to show some alternatives to Apple Arcade that were available on the App Store and outside of the App Store. With those, Luna and Xbox Game Pass streaming, those have some kind of special ways that they go about making it so that you can play those games. It typically ends up being a Safari window due to the rules surrounding Apple's App Store, but they're all pretty good and all worth at least a look. Especially because a lot of them offer free trials, right? So you can give it a go, see if it's what you like, and if it's what you want.
You have just talked me, Mikah. Well, you've just talked me into trying out Amazon Luna, so I'm signing up right now for the early access to see whether or not I get it. You do have to buy the controller for that, which does bring me to one thought, which is if you are going to try gaming on your iPhone, your iPad, Apple TV, etc., it's well worth looking into getting a controller. Now, if you've already got an Xbox, you can connect your Xbox controller. So have a look and see if you've already got a console and if that controller is compatible. And also see if you can get a USB rechargeable battery for said controller. I know the Nintendo Switch controllers are fabulous. I really love them, but they are not compatible with the iPad and the Apple TV, etc. But they do recharge via USB-C, which is one of my favorite features. And I've just discovered I can get a USB-C battery for my Xbox controller, which I have paired to my Apple TV. So I've just stuck that in my Amazon basket because seeing your controller there, Micah, made me think, actually, I've got a controller, which I can't use for Amazon Luna, but I am going to give that a go. So fingers crossed I get into Amazon Luna at some point. But it is currently not available outside the continental US. It's also not available for teens or business accounts. So I've signed up. Maybe I'll get it anyway at some point, but I'm just going to have to sit down and wait, unfortunately.
Darn it. Well, yeah, hopefully it comes. Oh,
excellent
all right,
timing,
folks. On that note, let's take a quick break before we come back with the news. I want to tell you about Wealthfront, who are bringing you this episode of iOS Today. Look, there's stonks, there are rocket ships, day trading. It can be a lot of fun. But if you want to grow your long-term wealth and actually make it to the moon, well, you should open up a Wealthfront investment account today. The odds are not in your favor if you're doing it alone. You can team up with Wealthfront instead. Investing can be complicated, but whether you're a beginner like me or you've been investing for years, Wealthfront makes it easy. They have the right tools for every portfolio. After answering just a couple of questions, Wealthfront can create a portfolio of globally diversified low-cost index funds personalized just for you in minutes. You can also build your own portfolio with clean energy funds, crypto trusts, tech, and hundreds of other investments. And Wealthfront even offers a socially responsible portfolio, which is a mix of funds built around human rights, climate change, sustainability, and diversity. There are no manual trades, no picking stocks, no watching the stock market every day. They automatically handle all the investing based on preferences you control. If you don't want to spend hundreds of hours trying to lower your tax bill, well, check out Wealthfront because they help you do that. Not sure how to rebalance your portfolio or even what rebalancing is? Well, they do it automatically. Wealthfront is trusted with more than $27 billion in assets, helping nearly 500,000 people build their wealth. Get your first $5,000 managed for free by going to wealthfront.com/iOS today. All you need is $500 to get started. Grow your wealth the easy way and let Wealthfront do the work for you. To start building your wealth and get your first $5,000 managed for free for life, go to wealthfront.com/iOS today. That's wealthfront.com/iOS today to start building your wealth. Once again, wealthfront.com/iOS today. And get started when? Today. Thanks so much to Wealthfront for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. All right, let's head into the news. The first story here is one you may have heard about if you've been following the Apple versus Epic trial. Not too long ago, Apple and Epic had gone to court, and there was lots of kind of back and forth, and the judge eventually said, look, Apple, what you're going to have to do is give developers the ability to offer an external form of payment to their customers. So instead of only having the in-app purchase method, which is what a lot of us use, what all of us use with apps, they would have the ability to include within the app a button or some other link that let them pop out of the app and use that third-party method of payment. Well, Apple requested a stay saying, hey, hold on. We know you want this done by December, but we kind of need a little more time to get it set up. And the judge said, no, we're not going to let you put a stay on that. We're not going to let you delay it. You are going to have to go forth with this change as was ruled. Make it happen. And yeah, that's the latest. I imagine that lawyers on both sides have been working to either continue forward with this new ruling, and Apple's probably wanting to try to clap back against this stay, or rather the lack of stay, the ruling that the stay is not going to happen. So it's a bit of a mess. But my early report about there was a third-party payment provider who had said, hey, we're going to be there on day one when this new ruling goes through. And I kind of said,
Paddle, right?
Yeah, Paddle. Yeah. And I said, maybe not a great idea to be saying that yet because there's still going to be some back and forth in court. Well, it seems that maybe Paddle was, or at least as it stands, was pretty smart for trying to get in on day one. We'll see if that continues to be the case.
Yeah, Paddle, for people who aren't familiar with them, are a service that quite a few app store developers actually use on their own websites. I believe Panic use them, for example, on their website to facilitate payments for their apps and so on. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I know I've used Paddle multiple times with buying lots of Mac apps before. So it'll be good if they are the same payment provider that developers choose to use. But I am very interested to see how this all shakes out. I have a feeling we're going to see some stuff in the App Store, as of next month, and then it's going to change how developers do things, because Apple will see, but the way they're doing this is really dodgy and so on and so forth. And I think that's what they wanted, really, amongst other things, more time to figure out there. But we will have to see what happens. And I look forward to finding some apps with third-party payment links in them and seeing how that experience goes.
Nice. All right. Up next, people who use Windows and have an iPhone or an iPad or something like that will be happy to hear that iCloud for Windows has been updated. It now has a password generator, which is fantastic, so that you can use it to make some new passwords. It, of course, lets you go ahead and see the passwords that you have saved in your iCloud storage. But then it also has added support for ProRAW and ProRes formats. So if you're viewing your photos there and you have photos or videos and you have them saved in those formats, you can synchronize and view those on your Windows machine. And this reminds me that I need to download this to my Surface laptop, because I do not currently have that on my Surface laptop.
Yeah, I have this installed on my Windows machine. I actually use iCloud installed on my Windows machine, which I primarily run as a Plex server, amongst other things. It also syncs all of my bookmarks into Firefox. So a little pro tip there for anybody who wants to get all of their iCloud bookmarks into a Firefox sync account. If you have a Windows machine, then you can use the iCloud utility on Windows to sync your bookmarks there. And yeah, I've given this a try. It seems to work. I'm pretty pleased with it. I don't really use iCloud on Windows. In fact, I rarely actually actively personally use my Windows machine. But for those people who are straddling the platform divide, this hopefully will make their life a little bit easier.
Indubitably. Tell me about WhatsApp. As an American individual, I tend to exist almost solely in iMessage/SMS. But outside of the United States, a lot of people use these apps, and WhatsApp is a very popular one that's just gotten some new features to improve upon privacy.
Yeah, so I do message quite a few people through iMessage. I message you through iMessage. In fact, I message all of my podcast co-hosts through iMessage. But I do use WhatsApp, and I use Telegram as well. WhatsApp is adding some new features which are very much privacy focused. So last week we mentioned that they've got this multi-platform support, but they don't have iPad support yet. Dang it. Still waiting on that. But this update is essentially going to be showing people when you were last online. So if you look in a WhatsApp conversation, then just like in iMessage, you can see whether or not your message was delivered. And if somebody has that enabled, you can see whether or not they've read your message. But you can also see the time that somebody was last online. And this can be both very useful, but also somewhat infuriating if you know that somebody's been online and they've not read your message, for example. I've had that before. Somebody from work messaged me at my old job on WhatsApp, and then they messaged me a couple of hours later and said, "I've seen you were online, but you didn't read my message. What's up?" And then I replied, "I'm on holiday today. Thank you." So, there's good sides and bad sides to this. But WhatsApp is essentially going to let you hide your last seen from some contacts. Now, this goes two ways. You hide your last seen from them, you can't see their last seen. So if you decide to show a group of users that you not to show them when you were last online, then you won't get to see it from them, which I feel is, turnabout's fair play there, which is, quite useful. But you will need to update WhatsApp to get this. And there are some other things as well, which is my contacts, except for certain groups and so on and so forth. But it's interesting that they are trying to focus on the privacy side of things. I'm not super keen on WhatsApp. I still have it installed and active because I've got some friends who just won't leave it. And people from old jobs I used to work with who it's nice to keep in touch with, but sending them a message to say, "Hey, any chance you feel like switching to Telegram?" kind of out of the blue when we don't really chat that much seems perhaps a little too much. I'm putting my problems on them rather than just dealing with having an app installed on my phone that if I get a message, I check it and that's it. But yeah, it's good to see that they are trying to bring this support forwards, and it ties in nicely, I think, with the multi-device support, which I'm thinking will bring some users back to WhatsApp who maybe just kind of stopped using it because they couldn't be logged into all the devices at all the times.
Yes. Now you can be logged in everywhere.
Yes. Except on your iPad, unless it's in a browser.
Right. This was an interesting one. So we have heard from several companies. Peloton was one of the companies that mentioned this, and a few others. Facebook has hopped on this bandwagon and said, hey, you know what's really a problem for us? You know what's really causing us to have issues? They're saying this to their investors at their earnings calls. Apple's app tracking transparency feature. That's really causing us an issue. For folks who don't know, the app tracking transparency feature is a way for individuals on your iOS, iPadOS devices to say, I don't want this app to track me. And what that means is the app is not able to compare your activity in its own app with other apps that exist outside of it and other websites and all that kind of stuff. Essentially, it says you can only kind of follow what I'm doing within this one app that I'm in right now. You can't use it you can't share that information with other people, and you can't use others to learn more about me. Apparently, enough other folks have complained that Apple's app tracking transparency is a business issue that is causing, all of the business's problems, that Snap, the makers of Snapchat, are being hit with a lawsuit because they did not, in the lawsuit's claim, they did not properly and fully cite the impact of Apple's app tracking transparency as an issue for the company and its earnings. So the lawsuit basically says, yeah, there was a huge impact from Apple's app tracking transparency, and y'all downplayed that, and that's disingenuous, and so you're in trouble.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out in court, because it's a matter of proving that they downplayed it, if they did, and what it means to downplay it. How much should they have said? How much should they not have said, et cetera, et cetera. So really fascinating, but I think particularly fascinating to see all the companies that are saying Apple's app tracking transparency is an issue for us.
Yes, yeah. And it's not a surprise. Like, this entire point was, hey, your data is worth money. Maybe don't just give it away to all these apps for free. And so it's not a surprise that apps like Snapchat, which, dealt with basically personal data, are being hit by this. So yeah, I mean, it's, we'll see how far this pans out and how wide the impact is across companies. I suspect we're going to see a very wide-ranging impact. But equally, I kind of find it hard to feel sorry for them that they are struggling a little bit by missing some of their revenue expectations because of they couldn't get more personal data to sell. So
ding, ding, ding. I feel the same way. All right. What's that sound? It's time for Shortcuts Corner. Oh, wait. Don't head to Shortcuts Corner. Rosemary, you wanted to mention a Black Friday thing. Then we will head to Shortcuts Corner.
Yeah, just as a little note, like, we're coming up towards Thanksgiving. I double checked. It's the 25th of November for all of those of you who are outside of the US like me. But even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, don't worry about it. You still get some great deals. I've seen loads of good deals popping up on Amazon UK. They've got early Black Friday sales and so on. Satechi, who make things like this little watch charger, which can plug into an iPad and stuff like that, have got some good deals on. So if you're looking for stuff, either for yourself or for others with the holiday season coming, definitely keep your eye out. These deals have started already. We're just going to see them get better and better and better as time goes on. So don't forget to keep your eye out for that.
All right, now I hear the sound of Shortcuts Corner. folks, this is the part of the show where you write in with your shortcuts requests, and the shortcuts expert, Rosemary Orchard, provides you with answers, feedback, more questions. It all depends on what you ask. Our first bit of Shortcuts Corner feedback comes from Peter. Peter writes, "Hello, Mikah and Rosemary. I am a frequent listener and I love your show." Hey, thanks, Peter. Thanks so much for the knowledge and news you give us all. I have a question about shortcuts. I am a geek and IT professional and own many things Apple. I want to be able to code shortcuts like an expert. Is there a course or courses that your company gives, or do you know of one that I could sign up for to teach me in-depth coding, syntax, etc. for shortcuts? Thank you in advance. I really appreciate the assistance. Peter on Long Island.
Well, the good news is, Peter, is you probably don't need too many of these things. And I would suggest that the very first place to get started is actually inside the Shortcuts app itself. And what I would do if I were you is I would start by just opening this up, going into the gallery. Oh, that's an interesting feature. If you go into the gallery and have a look and see what, for example, some of your automation suggestions are. Because the automation suggestions should give you some good ideas of different things that you can create, and just look at how they're pieced together, because these are automatically generated. And with automatically generated shortcuts, then of course they're relatively short, easy to understand, but also they're great for picking apart. Also, check out things like there's a shortcuts subreddit. So if you go to reddit.com/r/shortcuts, there's lots of people there who posted some great shortcuts and how they've made them and so on and so forth, with other people giving advice in the comments. But if you do want a course or a book, there are options for you. First of all, co-host of Automators, David Sparks, has a video guide, which is fabulous, and I can highly recommend it, all about learning how to use shortcuts. And there's really short videos on every section with downloadable shortcuts that you can play with and create and break and so on and so forth. And he's been updating it, and he's got all the different options in there of how to do a bunch of different things, like, what is a variable and how do variables work in shortcuts and so on and so forth. The other option I'm going to mention, though this is most definitely self-promotion, is I wrote a book called Take Control of Shortcuts. Full disclosure, I am in the process of writing a new book because there are lots of new things in shortcuts, including a whole macOS version, which you can grab. But Take Control of Shortcuts is available. That's something else that could well work for you if you are looking for something like that. So plenty of options out there. Of course, don't forget, you can also, if you've got a specific question, write in here and ask. And I'm very happy to help solve these things on the show.
You should absolutely buy Rosemary's book. It's fantastic and will help you better understand and then go ahead and get the next one when it comes out. How does that work? Is there an upgrade price? Is there, do you just buy the new one? How does that work? It's not 100% decided yet, because we need to figure out when the book's finished, how much is different and so on and so forth and things like that. So as soon as I know that, I will let people know. But also, I need to finish writing it. Unfortunately, Apple has been busy fixing some bugs in the recent betas, which means that I'm finally able to actually check that everything that I've got actually works the way I thought it did in theory, because that's been a little bit tricky with some of the betas, and that is beta life, of course. Things break and then they get fixed and so on and so forth. But it's good that things are becoming considerably more stable, so people don't need to worry about upgrading now. All right. This next one comes from Harry. Harry writes, I have Hue lights and a Hue motion sensor in my hallway. And a little bit of editorializing here. The Hue motion sensor is one of the best automation products you can buy. It is a fantastic sensor. It works so quickly. It's very good. I've always recommended it. All right, back to Harry. Off the hallway is my living room. When we are watching TV on Apple TV in the evening, the hall lights come on when someone walks by, but they shine right into the living room. I was hoping there was a way to set an automation to check to see if the Apple TV was on and turn the lights on at a lower percent or even shorten the time they stay on. If it helps the situation, the Apple TV runs through a Hue sync box as well. Thank you for all the great content, Harry. Rosemary, is there a way to check if the Apple TV is on and use that as part of your automation or in a shortcut?
I mean, yes and no. It's one of these things that it somewhat depends on how you've got things set up in the Home app. So one thing I would definitely recommend, first of all, for any owner of an Apple TV who's there going, I would really like all of my automations just in general to be working better. If you've got an Apple TV, then I would really suggest then going into the Apple TV, into the settings, looking in the Home, and assigning your Apple TV to a room. Until you assign your Apple TV to a room, it's actually not going to show up in the Home app. If we look over here, then we can see that my Apple TV is currently paused. It's underneath the heating pad controller, which actually should be off because I'm not in that room right now. And it's next to my HomePod. And so you can try to use this, but the native Home app doesn't have conditions. And conditions are what you need for something like this, because basically what you're trying to do is you're saying, hey, when this motion is detected, I want you to do this if I see this, and that if that's happening. Now, you can do some of this with the Home Plus app or the Eve app, but I'm going to show you how to do this in Shortcuts because, as we all know, this is Shortcuts Corner, and I do like solving problems with shortcuts if I can. So let's give it a go. So I've done this. I'm starting in Shortcuts and creating a home automation. You can start this in the Home app. There is nothing wrong with doing that. And of course, tapping create home automation is not working. Fabulous. Always love it when these work live on the show. So let's do this again, creating an automation. So we need to create an automation for when a sensor detects something. And you've got all of the different kinds of motion sensors. I have a lot of these tiny little Akara sensors around, but I also have some Hue motion sensors, including one here in my office right up there, which I definitely made sure was in position for the show today. So I have this motion sensor. So when this motion sensor detects motion, then we need to scroll all the way to the bottom. Doesn't matter if you're in the Shortcuts app, doesn't matter if you're in the Home app. You scroll all the way to the bottom, tap Convert to Shortcut. And first of all, get rid of this set. So I'm going to try tapping to get rid of that set. It won't let me do it right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my if action and try to set this up. So if home accessory, and then we need to try to find our Apple TV. Now, of course, for some unknown reason, this is very, very skinny. So I'm going to have to just keep scrolling to look for my Apple TV. And does anyone think that I scrolled past it? I think I scrolled past it, Micah. That seems quite possible. There it is, living room, Apple TV. So this is the problem I'm having. And this is what I mentioned last week on the show, where if you try to just do this directly inside of an if, sometimes these things don't work super well. So I'll select it again, and it's being a little silly. So I'm going to use an action to get the state of a home device. And my home is called the Queen's Square because I was watching the Queen's Gambit when I named it in
Nice.
the Home app. So I'll scroll down and I'm just going to get the state of my Apple TV. And this is unfortunately not working at the moment. This could be the beta version that I'm on, or it could be something else. But I fortunately have a Logitech Harmony, which I've hooked up to HomeKit through HomeBridge. And so what I can actually do is I can just say if my TV is on. And so I'm going to use this and I'm going to get the characteristic of active for my TV. And then I'll just select this. If active, and then has any value, because if active is true, so then we want to do something, right? So we're going to say, set the state of my home. So control your home, and this is going to have the name of your home here. And then you need to do whatever it is that you want to do with your options. So I'm just going to turn on my bedside lights. This doesn't make sense necessarily because these are in different rooms. And then if you tap on the little icon on the left, you can then duplicate your action and move it down. But if I tap on this, then I can actually change it to 100% here. So this is perhaps a little difficult to parse when you're just looking at it like this, which is why I recommend tapping on the options. So now I can see, hey, if the TV is active, then set the lights to 10%. Otherwise, set them to 100%. And that should, fingers crossed, do the trick. Now, the only thing is because I am setting specific devices rather than setting a scene, there's no time option. So if you do want to set something that's going to then turn off again, then you need to control your home, sorry, I typed in set state because it's get state. And instead of selecting one of your devices, then you could do something like, for example, turn on my beach wave scene. I've got some nano-leaf light panels. And these are, the scenes have usually the option to turn off again. But it's what I would recommend perhaps is instead of doing that, just have another automation that when it turns on, turns it off after 10 minutes, because that is the difficult part to control with the Shortcuts app. If you try to have a delay inside of your Shortcuts app that will turn something off after, say, 10, 15 minutes, then you are going to run into a problem because there is a wait function, but that wait function only works for about 3 minutes, usually less. So if you want the wait to work, then you need to basically ask something else to do the waiting for you. Homebridge dummy switches that we mentioned last week are really good for this. Equally, if you just turn on a scene and then turning on the scene activates something. So for example, turning on your hallway light activates a scene, which will turn it off after 5 minutes. That's another way to do that. So there we go. That's an option. So hopefully, Harry, that will give you some ideas. And good luck, and let us know if it works.
All right, folks, we're going to take one more quick break before we come back with some feedback and our app caps. I want to tell you that this podcast is supported by AT&T Active Armor. You've spent the day staring at your phone. You're waiting for that one call from the job, from the hospital, or the family, and it finally rings. But guess who it is? It's a robot. It is so annoying when you are waiting for a call, or I don't care, you're playing a game, you're in the middle of about to beat the final boss, and then this call pops up and it gets in your way, and you can't even feel a little bit okay because it's actually just your cousin calling you to see how your day was. No, it's a robot. It's so frustrating. We need to stop these robocalls. Don't let fraud calls disappoint you. AT&T makes your security a top priority, helping block fraud calls with AT&T Active Armor. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7 proactive network security, fraud call blocking, and spam notifications to help stop threats. At no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/activearmor for details. Thanks so much to AT&T Active Armor for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today. Let's head into the feedback. Ray has written in, hi, Micah and Rosemary. Hello. I upgraded to iOS 15.1, and now I have a problem with texts. Uh-oh. Before, a text would come in, and I could reply from the lock screen. Now I have to unlock and open messages to reply. Apple, quote, fixed it, but can it be reset? Ray in Illinois. P.S. I forgot to mention that I have an iPhone 8. Ray, as far as I know, what we would do is launch the settings app. I'm showing it on the iPad here, but it would be the same on the iPhone. We launch the settings app. We find Face ID and passcode, or for an iPhone 8, I believe that is a Touch ID and passcode. You would then type in your code, and then underneath this section, you'd go to Allow Access When Locked, and make sure that Notification Center is turned on. After you do that, I believe that would let you gain access to your notifications within Notification Center to be able to respond to those messages as you used to be able to do. Now, I personally have not had this change for me, but Rosemary, I'm curious if you saw it change for you whenever you set up a new phone.
I have not seen it change for me, but equally, we both have devices with Face ID, Micah, which is a little bit different, which is why I'm really glad that Ray followed up and mentioned that he's got something with Touch ID. So thank you, Ray, for sending that follow-up email. I'm really glad I spotted it and managed to put it all together. So Micah, what I'd like to do, if you don't mind doing a little test, if you can lock your iPad and show the screen and then just cover the Face ID sensor with your thumb. I'm going to send you a message. And we'll see whether or not you can reply without unlocking your iPad. Let me know when you're ready for me to send the test.
I am ready for you to send the test.
Wonderful. Now, you do have Do Not Disturb enabled, so hopefully this is going to show up anyway. There we
There's
go.
Rose.
So
Oops.
you've got a message while in Do Not Disturb, and it wants you to unlock it. There we go. So both you and I are feeling like we don't experience this because we've got Face ID. And that is unfortunate. So one of the things that they did change, which I'm currently struggling to find, and actually I think I just spotted it inside of notifications on your device. And this should be the same for you, Ray, whether you are using an iPhone 8 or a newer device. Of course, my iPhone is not showing up right now. Darn it. If you go into settings, notifications, there's an option to show previews when unlocked or always. And I'm suspecting that this is being set to always for you, Ray, which is why you're seeing the message and you're just not able to respond. Unfortunately, I don't know of a way around this. I've looked, I've been digging. I've been really, really, really digging. And I've just not found anything that will let you do this. The only person in my family who has an iPhone with Touch ID still is unfortunately my grandmother. And she didn't want me to try and enable the feature when I last saw her. Even though I said I would set it back.
Good news.
Have you found something? You found something.
Yes. So what you just told Ray to do, that actually does work. I kept my iPad locked. If you go, so there are two ways, Ray, to get into this. You can either go into notifications, or what I did was I chose messages and then I chose notifications. And under the part where it says lock screen appearance, you choose show previews and make sure that's set to always. If it is set to always, then you are able, I just did it. In fact, Rosemary,
I just got a reply that says hello, exclamation mark.
Yeah, go ahead and send me
iPad
one more
locked?
message. Yes.
All
So
right.
go ahead and send me another message. And Rosemary will send me a message here in a moment.
Sorry, I've just rebooted my iPhone again. I'll pop into messages here on my iPad.
As you can see, my iPad is still locked and it's letting me know, hey, your camera's covered, so I can't unlock. And so Rosemary's just sent me a message. She says, hello. I can tap and hold, and then I can say, ahoy.
Oh, wow.
And send a response right back. So
brilliant. So we actually solved it. I didn't think it was solvable. I am so
Neither
pleased,
did I.
Mikah.
I thought for sure that Apple's security features had changed. So, Ray, let's go back to the top and let's start over. There are two things that we need to make sure that we do. One is to go into, in your case, it's Touch ID and passcode. In my case, it's Face ID and passcode. So I will hop into there. I'm going to quickly type in my password. And then make sure that you do have, under Allow Access When Locked, make sure you do have Notification Center turned on. And then we tap on Messages, and we go into Notifications, which I just passed it. And then we tap on Lock Screen Appearance, where it says Show Previews, and make sure that's set to Always. With both of those things enabled, you should be able to respond to that message. Now, I want to be clear. You're only going to be able to see the message that was just sent to you and respond directly to that message as long as the phone is locked. It does not let you see, you'll have noticed, it did not show me the full history of the conversation. It only showed me the message that Rosemary sent to me and my response as long as it was locked. As soon as I unlocked it, then I could see the full history. So there's still a little bit of security in place, which is great. But, Ray, with an iPhone 8 that doesn't have Face ID, you should not have to tap and hold to get Touch ID to unlock it to be able to do it. Yay! All right.
Fabulous. Excellent. So we solved the problem.
Fantastic.
I'm very pleased about that.
Me too. Let's move on to App Caps. Folks, this is the part of the show where we wear silly caps atop, our head to honor our app picks or our gadget picks of the week. These may be apps that are new to us or apps we've used for a long time that we just wanted to share with you. In any case, it is time for Rosemary to tell us about the cap atop your head and then tell us about your pick this week.
Well, Mikah, if you don't mind, I'd actually like to pass straight back to you. I'm having some slight technical difficulties here where I'm unable to show what I wanted to show on my screen. So if you can come back to me in a moment. I know you're struggling to arrange your... Is that antenna that your eyes are on? What is going on here? Tell us about it.
So I have a red crab atop my head, and the red crab's eyes are on eye stalks, but they are very long eye stalks, and so I had to bend them down a little bit so that they could be on the screen. But the crab has its crabby claws, and it is ready for the day. So my pick this week is a game called Cozy Grove. We chose App Store alternatives this morning, and so I thought I'm going to mention an Apple Arcade alternative. I'm going to mention an actual Apple Arcade game that I really like. There we go. So Cozy Grove is this game in the App Store that's a little bit of in the Apple Arcade Store that's a little bit of an RPG. And it lets you play with a controller if you want to, or you can play without. And essentially how this game works is it's a resource gathering game, and it's a sort of a story adventure game. You play as this little ranger who gets dropped off on an island where you are meant to survive, and you're a spirit scout. And spirit scouts go around to haunted forests and help to free the people who are the spirits who are trapped on the island because they have unfinished business. So as a spirit scout, your job is to help them all out. And what I love about this game is that it's kind of, you start out in this very bleary location, and then as you play, the location gets more colorful as you start to help these different ghosts or spirits with their with the questions that they have. It's a hidden object game as well. So you go around and you try to find things that they ask you to find, and sometimes they're hidden. Holy moly, look at all those coins I got from digging up that hole. You go around and you try to find things. Sometimes they're hidden behind trees. Sometimes they are in an area that is still not colorful, and so you have to try to get it. The fox there is a person that sells stuff that you can buy with the coins that you collect, and I can't remember what my current quest is. Oh, I'm trying to find leaves. So I've been going around, and I have one leaf left, and it's a relatively small island, but because part of it is in color, part of it's not in color, it can be kind of difficult to spot the items. There's also a fishing mechanic, so you can go around and collect fish that you can then sell for better materials to make a fishing rod, for example. There are these kind of tiny creatures that are called imps, and they'll oftentimes pop up above their head a little notification of an item, and if you sort of toss that item to them, then they will give you stuff in return. And as you collect new things, you collect furniture that you can drop around the island, and along with the furniture, there's a sort of mechanic surrounding the objects on the island that produce resources. And so, for example, this bird here, it has likes and dislikes. So you can see it likes decoration, it likes lamp, and it likes rustic decor. So if I bought or found rustic decor and put it around this bird, it would produce more items that I need, more resources that I need for some different quests that I have. So it's all sorts of fun little game mechanics that are built into this one adventure, hidden object RPG called... now I've forgotten what it's called, Cozy Grove. So that is the name of the island that I'm currently on. Oh, and there is a fruit tree. I can shake that fruit tree and get some of the fruit from that tree to harvest. That's the one thing I don't like about this game is it can be a little picky about where you tap, because as a hidden object game, it has to disappear and come back depending on your layering of the screen. So you can see as I move behind that bush, the bush goes away. As I move in front of the bush comes forward and appears again. An exclamation point next to a character means that they have a something for me to do, a quest for me to do. And so if I talked to that character, then it would send me on a quest. But I'm not currently going to choose any of the quests because I've got one already that I'm trying to get through. As I said, I'm trying to find this hidden leaf, but it's a fun little game. It's a fun little game that has really cute stories, really cute animations, and graphics all together. And I think that it's kind of an all ages game. I think anybody will have fun doing this, as long as, you know, if I guess if you have a kid play it. If a kid is particularly afraid of ghosts, this might not be the game for them. But the bears are relatively harmless, and it does require some amount of reading, so it wouldn't be for a very, very small kid. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I'm noticing here that it seems to have not saved my progress, because I had a lot more of that, a lot more of the mailbox person. The mail person was open, and I had a lot of this in color. So apparently I need to reload a save slot that I had to fix that. So keep that in mind. But Apple Arcade game. So if you have an Apple Arcade subscription, it's free to download. There aren't any weird pay-to-play mechanics that get annoying. Very easy, very fun. $4.99 a month for Apple Arcade, and this is just one of the many, many games that are available as part of Apple Arcade. Okay, I think Rosemary is back in action. So Rosemary, tell us about the cap atop your head and your app pick of the week.
The cap atop my head is one I have worn before. I am recycling hats, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. And it's a pink glittery cowboy hat, because who doesn't love pink and glitter? And of course, I will be finding pink glitter everywhere for months after this, despite the fact that I've coated it in hairspray and it usually lives in a sealed plastic bag. But glitter aside, I have an exciting app for today, which is Tweetbot. Now, you might be thinking, Rose, Tweetbot, everybody knows about Tweetbot. First of all, you'd be wrong. Not everybody knows about Tweetbot. And secondly, Tweetbot's just had an update 2 days ago, and then they pushed an extra update today as well. So this is my Twitter account inside of Tweetbot. Tweetbot is an alternative Twitter app for iOS and Mac. And basically what it does is it removes many of the annoyances that Twitter has and gives you a much better experience. So Tweetbot itself is free to download, and then it's $5.99 a year, but it means that you don't have wonderful features such as ads in your timeline. And those features that Twitter makes available through their API to Twitter app developers are available in Tweetbot. And what they've just released a few days ago is being able to control who can reply to your tweet. So I've started creating a new tweet here, and I can now specify here in the bottom left who can reply to that tweet. This doesn't control who can see my tweet, just who is able to reply to it. So I can either say people I mention, or people I follow, or anybody I mention, or everybody. Now the default is everyone. But if I just say people you can mention, then if I were to type a fabulous tweet, such as I love doing iOS today with Mikah, if I can type Micah's name correctly, then he will show up. Here he is. I can tweet, and only Mikah is able to reply to this tweet. But that's not all they've done. That's not all. And so in the interest of science, and also a little bit in the interest of chocolate, I sent out a tweet earlier today, which if I go into my profile and into my recent tweets, and they take a moment to load, then I can see I have a very serious question that I posted earlier, including a poll. And I created this inside of Tweetbot. For those of you who are watching at home. Yeah, for those of you who are watching, who are listening and not watching, my tweet says, okay, serious question time. What kind of chocolate orange is the best? For people who don't know what a chocolate orange is, it's approximately the size of, it's a bit bigger than a tennis ball. I don't know how big baseballs and softball balls are, but it's a large thing, which is...
it's the size of a navel orange.
Yeah. You smash it, it separates into segments. It's chocolate. It's flavored with orange. It's delicious. I love them. And quite a few people, indeed, so far, 71 people at the time of broadcasting have voted. And the original, which is milk chocolate, is coming out best, with dark chocolate has 32% of the vote. So I'm quite pleased about that. So if you were to want to create a tweet with a poll in, then when you tap on your new tweet option, as well as image, animated image, there's also a poll where you can add multiple choices, and then you can also say how long it should be open for. The options are 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 6 hours, or 24 hours. And you type your options in. And when you get to option 2, there's a plus to add option 3, and so on and so forth. There is one thing I should note, and this is a Twitter limitation, not a Tweetbot limitation. Twitter doesn't let you vote in polls from other apps. So if I were to try and vote in this poll, when I tap vote, when I tap on the poll, it gives me the option to vote on Twitter and bumps me out either to the Twitter website, or if I have the Twitter app installed, it will redirect me to the Twitter app. Personally, I don't have the Twitter app installed because, did you know, Mikah, there's also a feature where you can have the Tweetbot extension in Safari redirect you to Tweetbot when you open Twitter links? Oh, yes. Yes, you can. And so I really like that feature. Tweetbot's had some great updates recently. And of course, I'm using it to check on who is the best chocolate orange. So we'll see who comes out ahead there when that vote ends in 21 hours. But I'm feeling that milk chocolate and dark are probably going to be the last 2 left in the ring there.
So Twitter lets third-party apps display polls, but not let you vote in them.
Correct. They will now let you create and display polls, but they won't let you vote in them. I don't know what the logic is here. There's some very weird logic going on at Twitter HQ here. I've also heard of some very similar things going on at Reddit, where the developer behind Apollo, his name's Christian, has been asked to implement some features, and he's unable to do so because the Reddit API will not let him do that. Like, I think for a while, Twitter chat definitely wasn't part of the API. I think that has since been fixed, but I'm not sure. But basically, some of these service creators have decided artificially to limit their APIs so that third-party app developers can't do the same things that the native app can do. But personally, I'm not going to pay for Twitter Blue. And it wouldn't get rid of the subscription anyway. It wouldn't get rid of the adverts anyway. So I'm very happy with the option of just download Tweetbot and pay them because they're great app developers and it's a lovely experience.
All right, folks, that brings us to the end of this episode of iOS Today. Of course, if you have questions, feedback, Shortcuts Corner requests, etc., send those to iostoday@twit.tv. You can also tweet at us with the hashtag AskIOSToday. Honestly, the best way to do it is to email us. We'll see it and be able to catalog it, or talk to us.
And there's no character limits.
Exactly. That's the big thing. And you could talk to us in the Discord, which I'll talk about more in just a moment. Of course, you can watch the show live as we record it every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. You just go to twit.tv/live to check us out across a bunch of different live streaming platforms, including Twitch and YouTube Live. But the best way to get the show, we think, is by subscribing to it, which you do by going to twit.tv/iOS and clicking to subscribe to audio or video across the different providers. We recommend the video version, but we do try to make it just as good for the audio version, particularly for folks who are not able to consume the video version of the show. So yeah, get either version there. And now's the time to mention the Discord. If you would like to get all of our shows ad-free, well, you should check out Club Twit, because for $7 a month, that's exactly what you get. All of our shows ad-free. You get your own personal little feed of each show. So if there are shows you haven't checked out yet, this would be the time to check all those out without ads. You also get access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has content you won't find anywhere else, outtakes, behind the scenes, before the show starts, after the show ends, etc., and access to, yes, I mentioned it earlier, the members-only Discord server, where you can hang out with your fellow Club Twit members, but also us hosts and producers and other folks from Twit. It's a great, fun place to be. Club Twit. Just head to twit.tv/clubtwit to check it out. $7 a month. If all of that sounds like a lot, but you still want to support the shows directly, well, we've heard you. Some folks have written in with that feedback. For $2.99 a month, if you are listening to us via Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe to the audio feed of iOS Today to support the show directly. And what do you get? You get an ad-free version of the show. So you head into Apple Podcasts, you look up iOS Today, find the audio feed, tap on that, and then choose subscribe. $2.99 a month. You get ad-free version of the audio stream of iOS Today. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all your great work, where do they go to do so?
The best place is rosemaryorchard.com, which has links to all the things I do all around the internet. And of course, you can also find me on Twitter with the username Rosemary Orchard. Mikah, what about you?
I am at Micah Sargent on many a social media network, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUAHUA.coffee, where I've got links to many of the places I exist online. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of iOS Today. We will see you next week with even more awesome. Until then, goodbye.
Bye, Ron.
Have you ever read a tech news story and thought to yourself, man, I would love to talk to the person who wrote this to find out more information? Well, that's exactly what Micah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, do each and every week on Tech News Weekly. We read the stories that matter to us, we reach out to the people making and breaking the tech news, and we invite them on to tell their story. And you can find it at twit.tv. Look for Tech News Weekly every Thursday.